a second accuser came out to talk about their experience in Andrew Cuomo's office. Um, Look, I mean, it's been largely known that the guy is abusive and is a bully in many respects. The I think it's 8 or 9 state health officials have left over the course of COVID because they felt like Cuomo was not listening to them. You lost the guy who was put in charge at the MTA of the subways, who had really done an amazing job. You know, obviously this pre-COVID in repairing the subways and getting them back into a, wasn't fully there, but where they were, quicker and more on time. And he left because Cuomo didn't like the fact that this guy was getting credit for it. I mean, these are all, and then there's just the reality of what Andrew Cuomo has done from on a policy level. None of this has, which includes, cutting all the public hospitals, cutting Medicaid payments, all of this, some of it during COVID, actually. His failures at the beginning of COVID, his covering that up, his destruction of the Moreland Commission, which was supposed to look into corruption. I think it was about 8 years ago now. And I mean, the list goes on and on. Much of this stuff has not ever permeated the public. This is. And here is Jen Psaki, the president's spokesperson, having to address a question about Andrew Cuomo. Dana Bash makes a little bit of a faux pas here, confuses Andrew Cuomo with her colleague, but here it is.
The New York Times is reporting last night that a second allegation of sexual harassment against New York Governor Chris Cuomo. This is a report from a former aide, Charlotte Bennett, saying that Cuomo asked her alone in his office last spring about her sex life, including whether she ever had sex with older men. She has other allegations as well. Governor Cuomo says he never made advances toward Miss Bennett. But does President Biden believe Governor Cuomo or Charlotte Bennett?
Well, first, President Biden has been consistent that he believes that every woman should be heard, should be treated with respect and with dignity. Charlotte should be treated with respect and dignity. So should Lindsay. And there should be an independent review looking into these allegations. And that's certainly something he supports and we believe should move forward as quickly as possible.
Governor Andrew Cuomo, I should say, obviously. President Biden told reporters in 2018, quote, for a woman to come forward in the glaring lights of focus nationally, you've got to start off with the presumption that at least the essence of what she is talking about is real. So does President Biden still believe what candidate Biden said, that the essence of these allegations are real?
Of course, Dana, he believes, that's why I said he believes that every woman who comes forward should be treated with dignity and respect. They should be able to tell their story. There should be an independent review of these allegations. They're serious. It was hard to read that story as a woman, and that process should move forward as quickly as possible. And that's something we all support and the president supports.
Jen Psaki, White House press secretary, thank you.
Okay, so in a vacuum, that's not a terrible answer, right? But this comes on the heels of them refusing to condemn Cuomo's clear cover-up of and resulting in an investigation into him on the federal level of nursing home COVID deaths by half. So they're still trying to wrap their arms around him for some reason. And then of course, the Tara Reade angle makes it difficult for Joe Biden to walk that line. So I don't find that answer, I guess, and supporting an independent investigation, I don't find that offensive in and of itself. But on the heels of their refusal to kind of cast him aside based on clear malfeasance and lying when it came to COVID deaths, and all the other things you mentioned, Sam, this is going to be a problem in 2022. Whenever any Democrat brings up Trump's handling of coronavirus, Republicans are going to turn around and say Andrew Cuomo, and I think it'll have an effect. And that's because Biden is refusing to kind of lead here.
I don't know, man. Every time I hear the press secretary of an alleged rapist say, as a woman, I reach for my revolver.
I mean, I don't think Andrew Cuomo is going to be the political liability in 2020, because I just don't think that people pay that much attention to governors, like broadly speaking. But I think he's going to have a problem here because Tish James is going to pursue this investigation. And one of the things he did with the Moreland Commission, which was supposedly an independent commission to look at corruption, was shut it down when they started looking into him. He's not going to have the ability to do that this time. And the Tara Reid thing was one issue for Biden. We're now seeing for Cuomo, a pattern, and it's going to be interesting to see what happens in the coming days.
Yeah.
I mean, Andrew Cuomo is notoriously vindictive and a bully, as we've said, and so it makes it that much harder if anybody is in any way associated with New York State politics. They're going to be afraid because Cuomo will go out of his way to make people pay in those situations.
And I'm sorry, yeah, like what you're saying, let's just be real here. It's the multiple allegations lends more credence to the Cuomo story than based on what Biden faced. And just what we know about Cuomo as a human being is a lot more. The fact that he's basically an abusive boss in many ways, like he's a bully, he lies, he's known to be this way in interpersonal relationships. So none of these sexual harassment allegations shock me, and I would be shocked if there weren't more women who experienced it. And the only reason I say this thing about this being used against Democrats in the midterm, Sam, is I talk to Republicans or people kind of apolitical folks outside of New York, and they go Cuomo nursing home deaths. Like the Fox News machine, the right-wing media machine has glommed onto this, and I do think it's going to be a problem. I really do.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a made man. You don't go after a made man unless you know you can win against him, right? So if he knows where any of the bodies are buried, the Biden administration is going to have to tread very carefully with this.
Well, but I don't know what the Biden administration, I mean, I guess the DOJ can look into the nursing home stuff, and I think they are.
Isn't it the FBI? Is the FBI looking into it? Right.
Well, the investigative body of the DOJ. I mean, I don't know at this point beyond that what they're going to do. I mean, it'll be interesting to see maybe if there isn't like some type of also state investigation as well.
Just another point about Cuomo and like DeSantis also covered up COVID data, and yet in Florida, no one talks about that, but everyone knows that Cuomo did it, partly because he portrayed himself as such a savior, but also because this is the power of right-wing media. So I just want to point that out, that I think he will be a massive liability, and part of this is because he's not going to go quietly. He's going to make this as hard as possible.
Without a doubt.
I hope you're right. I feel like a lot of liberals out there still think that Cuomo is good on some level because he was the mayor during the governor during COVID, just like Giuliani got brownie points for being the mayor of 9/11.
Without a doubt. I mean, I think there's, but it will be interesting to look at what his approval rating is in the coming weeks. I mean, there's no doubt in my mind that he has taken a big hit.
Huge.
And, you look back to Nixon and particularly Teach Out. I mean, Nixon forced Cuomo to move, at least rhetorically and in some instances, to the left. I mean, he ended up having to sign bills that he didn't want to sign because of what happened with the IDC. But Teach Out was able to take like 35% on him in a primary, and 10 points. I wouldn't be surprised if we see Cuomo's approval rating drop 10 points. And then all of a sudden you're starting to get 45-55 territory. I mean, who knows? This is, and I think I trust Tish James to to follow this, make this investigation independent. I think, you know, I mean,
well, she's not going to get bullied by him. I mean, we saw this too with the nursing home data. She's you know, I think she may be a little performative at times, but she's strong, and like that's going to be that you need someone with strength to go up against this kind of bully.
Building a distinct power base in New York State is so key, I think, and this has importance to the nation, because New York could be a front runner on a lot of progressive legislation. And if power is wrestled away from Andrew Cuomo's basically operation, I don't know what else really to call it. I mean, this guy has been using transactional stuff and weaponizing it in an incredible way. That's a big deal. So we'll see.